Good morning, everybody. We're live here from the birdhouse, and we are definitely in spring migration. There's lots of buzz out there about the different birds people are seeing in their backyard. So, I'm going to give you an update about some of those and how you can attract them to your backyard. As always, we love to know what kind of things you're seeing. You can throw those in the comments. If you have any questions, you can put those in there too. On Saturday's broadcast, I actually had to pre-record it because I was giving a talk live at 10 o'clock. So I pre-recorded that in the early morning of Saturday. So I couldn't respond to your questions and comments on Saturday, but I am here live right now. So if you have any questions or sightings, absolutely put those in the comments and I can share them here. Also, if you are local, this Saturday we have birds from Wild Wings coming into the store. So check out our event list for that and so much more coming up this spring. We've got so many different and fun events happening, and Wild Wings will be here from 11:30 to 1:30. So kind of different hours than they're usually here. So we've got that going on Saturday and much more coming up. We've got our telescope night on Thursday. So all kinds of fun stuff, but let's get started. First of all, what we are in migration season, birds are absolutely flowing in, but they've kind of been hung up, it seems like a little bit with some of the storms. I've been looking at these maps from Birdcast, and this is a prime example right here. So where I am in upstate New York here, this weather, you can see it's heavy precipitation tonight going into tomorrow. So there's probably not going to be a lot of migration in my area specifically. That being said, every day I'm seeing and hearing new and more species coming through the area. So don't let that fool you into thinking that they're still not passing through. Just in certain spots where the storms are, you might just not see as much migration. For example, tonight's supposed to be pretty rainy. So tonight going into tomorrow, there probably won't be a lot of new things in your yard. But that being said, the migrants that you are getting might be kind of hunkered down for the night and they might not be leaving tonight. So you might have your current birds that are there today. You might see them again tomorrow instead of them just passing on. But you can see where the heavy migration is or where those light yellow patches are. So they are still flowing through. And over the next few days, not a lot, not a huge amount, it looks like, through my area, but depending on where you are, you might be in a really hot spot of migration. And that being said, like I said, new warblers are showing up every day, new different species are showing up every day. So Saturday, we'll do more of a deep dive on some of those warblers that you might be seeing because we've been getting lots of fun warbler pictures. They almost deserve their own broadcast all on their own. So on our update on Saturday, we'll do more of a focus on warblers. But what it seems like lots of people are having luck with getting so far this migration season, myself included, are the rose-breasted grosbeaks. And I've had one hanging around since last Friday, male, and then a female showed up the other day. Female, I don't know if she's still around. She might have left, but the male has been hanging out the last 3 days. I didn't see him this morning, but I hope he's still there. And same story with a lot of other people are getting rose-breasted grosbeaks in their backyards. So what they're coming to in my yard is the safflower. They love the safflower seed. I've got a safflower log, which lasts quite a long time because the other birds don't even eat it as fast as they'll eat the other seeds usually. So I always have something out there for the rose-breasted grosbeak. And he has been chowing on the safflower. Both the male and the female have been loving it. So if you want to always have something out there for them, safflower is great because it doesn't usually get eaten as fast as the other seeds. But they'll also eat things like sunflower seed, striped sunflower, sunflower hearts. So any of that is good for the grosbeaks. And you guys have been sending in some really fun photos here of the rose-breasted grosbeak. And so if you haven't seen one yet, don't be discouraged. Like I said, birds are still flowing in. I heard some people just this morning got their first ones. So they are still flowing in here. Some other birds that you might see at your seed feeders are going to be some different sparrows. I've been having such luck with different sparrows in my backyard over the past week. I don't think I've ever had this many diverse, this many different types of sparrows and this many sticking around for so long. So it's been really, really fun. I've been having this chipping sparrow, which looks like this, that has been showing up here and there throughout the past week. A ton of white-throated sparrow, and they've been singing. If you're using your Merlin app, which will ID birds by sight and sound, don't be surprised if you pick up some white-throated sparrow calls. And white crown sparrows. Been getting a ton of both of these over at least the past week, maybe a little bit longer, in some pretty big numbers. So it's been really, really exciting. So I'm curious if you guys are having that same thing in your yard, or if I'm just having a good year in my backyard. Some other birds to be on the lookout for are going to be things like indigo buntings. So indigo buntings will also come to feeders. They will like sunflower seeds, but then they'll also eat the smaller seeds. So sometimes you might even get them at your Niger feeder or eating things like millet. So be on the lookout for the indigo buntings. Patricia sent in these photos here of indigo buntings. And I've been seeing little mason bees buzzing around the garden the past couple of days. They are definitely out. They are excavating from their little tubes that they've been in since last year. And they, once they're out, they start pollinating. So they pollinate these early spring blooms, and then they'll start the whole process of egg laying all over again. So this is a bee in my garden yesterday. This is a red mason bee. I was able to identify this using a different app, which I highly suggest if you are playing around with the Merlin app and you really like that. There's one called Seek, S-E-E-K, and that will identify not just birds, but other animals based on their photos. So if you're able to snap a photo of something, you're not sure what it is, whether it be an insect or it could be a mammal or it could be an amphibian, it can identify it for you. Pretty cool. There's a lot of apps out there that will do it based on what kind of organism you have, whether it be an insect or a mushroom or something like that. There's Picture Insect is a really good one. So there's a lot of apps out there now that will identify other animals too based on photos. And Seek is a really good one. And you can keep a checklist just like you can with eBird of the different species you're seeing. So really cool. Then orioles, of course. Lots of orioles are coming in, and definitely send us in your oriole pictures. You can tag us in your photos on Facebook and Instagram, and we'll get them that way too. But people are definitely reporting orioles coming into the area, and I had my first one. I think it was on Friday of last week. And it was a beautiful male, just like this photo here that Patricia sent in. And then the next day I had a juvenile. And then I haven't seen them since. So they must have continued on their migration journey. So that's okay, because usually I don't see orioles until about a week from now or so. So that was kind of early for me. So it was really exciting to see the Baltimore Orioles, but they are definitely rolling in. And we've gone over this a few times of what they will eat, things like suet, especially the orange flavored suet. You can slice those oranges in half and spike them on a feeder or even fence posts. We hear different things people will put the oranges on. They will eat that orange. They'll drink nectar, and they love the jelly. The jelly is the thing that they absolutely love the most out of everything. And then as the nesting season goes on and they have their nestlings, we always recommend you putting out some mealworms for them too. So we'll let you know when that time is. That's going to be about a month from now. And we have all kinds of different feeders for the orioles. But you might be getting other visitors coming to your oriole feeders too. And I've been seeing this little visitor show up in my yard the past couple days. I haven't had any orioles because they seem to have moved on, but I've been getting a gray catbird who has been eating the jelly from my oriole feeder, and he's been singing and singing in the neighborhood, and I can hear his little meow call, which is really fun. So don't be surprised if you happen upon these gray catbirds coming to your feeders also, as well as mockingbirds. They don't seem to come as regularly as the catbirds do to these oriole feeders, but they will sometimes. So be on the lookout for them. And hummingbirds, we are getting our first reports of hummingbirds in. Last week we started getting reports. Usually it's around the 4th or 5th of May is when most people start saying, okay, now they're coming in. So Just like the other birds, though, they could be hung up on the migration with the storms coming in. And usually it's around Mother's Day that people are like, okay, now I've finally seen my first hummingbird. So they're just rolling in. So don't be surprised if you haven't seen one yet. I haven't seen one yet. And we've been getting reports, but not a ton of reports about the hummingbirds yet. So we've been hearing lots of reports of rose-breasted grosbeak and lots of reports of orioles, but not so many reports of hummingbirds yet. So be patient. They are on their way, but people are starting to report them coming to the feeders. And we do always recommend you keep your hummingbird feeders separate from your other feeders because they don't play nicely all the time with other birds. So they are very territorial. So keeping your hummingbird feeders separate is our recommendation. And you can do that pretty easily we have these inexpensive poles. They're not like the really heavy duty shepherd's hooks. You can just put those in the ground and you can hang your hummingbird feeder from wherever in your garden where it's separate from some of your other feeders. We do have the accessories, which are great for a day like later on today and yesterday and several days recently. Things like weather guards to keep the rain out of your jelly. That's been a saving grace for me, so I haven't had to waste the jelly if it gets washed away by the rain. We have the ant moats, which work super well, keeping the ants out of the feeders. They can't get around this little cup of water to get down to the feeder. Super great accessories for their feeders, and birds tend to use them as little bird baths, which is always super fun. We have gel to keep out ants, and this is always super popular, the Nectar Defender, which will keep the nectar fresh in your feeders longer. So it'll keep it fresh for more like a week instead of just a few days. So then if you're having issues with wasps, especially later on in the season, once those hives get bigger, we have the fake wasp nests that you can put out. So right now I would highly suggest that you get your oriole and hummingbird feeders out. If you haven't already, absolutely do so. And you want to make sure you've got some kind of seed feeder out for those. Not only the indigo buntings that you might get, they're not super common, but those rose-breasted grosbeaks, lots of people are reporting them. So put out some kind of sunflower seed or safflower seed to attract them. And I have been getting birds coming to my nesting ball like crazy. I've put out 3 so far, and they are tearing them apart. Mostly sparrows I've had coming to it, but I've also been having this chickadee come and going to the nesting balls. So nesting season is definitely underway. You still do have time to put out nesting boxes depending on the species. Some have more than one brood a year, so they will be looking for places to nest throughout the next couple months. So that is the update I have for you today. Definitely lots of grosbeak activity, definitely lots of oriole activity, and there's lots of migrants coming through. So on Saturday, we'll do more of a deep dive on some of these migrants that you might not get a ton of in your backyard, but if you've got things like water features, or if you've got plants that are blooming right now that are bringing in little insects, you might be getting some of these warblers and things. So it's a really exciting time of the year, and we'll give you more of an update on Saturday of the wide breadth of birds that are coming in. So it looks like there are some comments here. Ed is on and says, yesterday was a big birding day at our feeders. 2 hummers showed up and a male oriole stopped by to munch down some jelly. A day or two early, but very exciting to see them all back in town. Very cool. So Ed has reported a couple hummingbirds coming in and some orioles. That is great. Steel Monkey is on and says, I'm getting plenty of gray catbirds and hummingbirds, but still no orioles, but that's okay. I'm a patient monkey. Yes, everybody should be a patient monkey out there. If you haven't gotten some of these migrants yet, they are on their way and they are pushing through. So Karen is on and she says hummingbird arrived in Fairport, New York on May 1st, earliest ever. Yeah, that is early. But you know what? I think the one photo that we had sent in from Patricia that I shared in this broadcast, I want to say she sent that in on, is it Thursday of last week or maybe Wednesday? So yeah, that is quite early, but that's good to know. And it doesn't surprise me as things start to bloom earlier. It makes sense that the birds will kind of go with that and arrive at the same time that some of these things are in bloom. So Karen said Orioles too. All right. So people are getting the migrants to their yards, which is really exciting. And there, a lot of them are singing. So even if you're not seeing anything, it's always fun to pull up that Merlin app and just let it listen because it'll hear things that you might not be seeing, especially if they're high up in the trees. So you might be getting things like yellow rumped warbler coming through, or black and white warbler, or even yet there's the yellow rumped warbler, there's yellow warbler. You might start seeing some of these things in your backyard that Merlin will pick up the audio recordings of, and then you can kind of see where they might be in your trees. So that's always fun to do this time of the year too. So that is the update for today. We'll be back on Saturday with a longer broadcast that incorporates all these migrants that are coming into the area, including a lot of the warblers that if you go out birding, you can see right now. So tune in on Saturday. We will be back then at 10 a.m. And until then, have a wonderful week. Send us in your photos. We'll share them all on Saturday, and we'll talk to you then.